Hans Wormhat.
Ah, that's better. And in case you didn't know, Hans here. He stopped doing this intro a while back, because Hans doesn't call himself Hans anymore, and videos are just far less iconic for it. I personally think that the change came because people thought that the Hans Wormhat name was proof positive that he's a Poe, because no one could be stupid enough to unironically take an Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference,
Hans Vermit,
as their name. But you see, Hans is better than that. Hans is better than you. When it comes to people who do things purely out of the silliness of their heart, Hans Wormhat is the king and should be spoken of by his one true name only. Anyway, what's we doozings today, mate?
In this video, I'm going to be looking at pictures of the Titanic.
Oh, well, that's a nice change of pace. It's okay, guys. He's not going to be saying something completely insane or asinine. He's just going to be taking a look at some pictures of a boat. No reason to panic. How could that possibly lead to something so stupid it makes you want to climb up your own nose and kick the shit out of your own worthless brain?
But really briefly, before I get into that, the reason that I was even looking at pictures of this is because...
I know, you were looking for porn. We've all done it. We wanted some pictures of dying humans in order to get our rocks off, perfectly natural, but then you end up in real-world disaster caused by some very unfortunate circumstances, and that tragedy just puts you right off your stroke. I mean, real death that you didn't cause yourself? That's not sexy. That's not sexy at all.
When you look at the old world buildings, oftentimes they'll give you like one photo of the alleged construction.
What the Hans? Alleged construction and one photo? Yeah, you know how perishable old photography is? The fact that we have anything left from the early days is frankly astounding, not just in that they fade due to myriad reasons, but also because humans are clumsy, worthless scum who frankly aren't very good at archiving things. Even today, with the internet being the forever place it technically is, things disappear all the time, never to be seen again. So you expect some rando's posterity build photos to have survived all intact today, or be findable at all? Let alone the fact that taking pictures was just not the same then. And maybe they just didn't care enough to take certain pictures. Not every single building is some accomplishment of record.
And they all look hokey and like photo manipulation. Photo manipulation has always existed ever since photography has existed. And
well, that's like your opinion, man. And by that I mean your incredibly shaky, poorly researched, not even remotely close to expert opinion. I mean, do you even know what photo manipulation looked like back in the day? 'Cause it sure as shit wasn't Photoshop. It was exposures and crap like that. And doing it for what? To make one photo of a particular build? Why the f*** would they only do one or two? If I was doing some elaborate hoax about buildings, for some reason, I would definitely provide multiple pictures at the same time so all my fakery hard work doesn't go to waste. And I would make sure Chuckles the intern wasn't the one who just stashed the pictures under his mattress so they wouldn't be discovered for forever, and when they were piss-drenched and puke-stained to the point where only one was usable all these years later. And so my pointless plan would finally come to fruition. What that plan is, who the fuck knows? But they did it, apparently. Well done them.
all of the old world construction photos, they have the same strange quality to them. They look like half photo, half painting.
Weird that all the photos used with the old tech would have a similar visual appearance, almost like they were all shot at the same time period, you fucking doof. Like seriously, how is that suspicious to you? Old photos are kind of blurry and dreamlike. Must be because they were faked to be that way. No other explanation needed. Now I'm off to go beat my own brain out of my nose hole with a large metal stick.
Yeah, it just doesn't look real. And there's only like 1 or 2 photos typically of the old world buildings being built.
Baffling how someone who has so clearly lost his marbles couldn't figure out that people can lose other things. But then again, this is Hans, the master of myopic thinking. Also, what makes you think that they don't have the pictures in some massive collector's collection somewhere? who's just not interested in preservation but simply hoarding them for their own pointless desires. You assume that there's only a few because the 5 minutes of research that is only ever online talking to a search engine could even come close to any sort of journalistic investigation. Because it doesn't. Mostly because it's work, and you have never been about that, have you, mate?
So, how does this connect to the Titanic?
Oh God, I dread to think. No, not in the same way Hans dreads to think. He doesn't like thinking because he hates all the screaming animal noises in his head. I dread to think because, well, I might start hearing them too if I start getting into his headspace, so I guess it is kind of the same thing.
The Titanic was really early 1900s, and if you look at photos of the Titanic being built,
here it comes. Okay, so let's follow his unbelievably simplistic train of thought here, or at least try to preempt it. He thinks old photos of buildings look fake, therefore all old photos of everything are fake. #fact. No questions, please. Right?
there's a lot of photos that they look legitimate. They don't look like half drawing, half photo. They don't have weird, totally white skies that look abnormal.
Oh, and there I thought he was gonna. Okay. And sorry, what? Skies being white in old black and white photos was what made them fake? Hans, what the colour do you expect the sky to be on a camera technology that was incapable of reproducing colour, as the black and white cameras that were the most accessible at the time would have been? Black and white, Hans. Bright sunny sky is going to show up white, you f***ing moron. For someone so confident in their abilities to spot problems with evidence, you are completely unable to spot any issues in your thinking skills. Funny that.
One thing you'll notice, though, when you go look at Titanic construction photos, you only really see early photos of it being constructed, like the shipyard where they're constructing it.
You only see construction photos of it being constructed. Yeah, it's funny that when it's done, they are no longer construction photos. That's one of the things about building something. And you know what? It often goes from, what is that even supposed to be, to practically done in a relatively short span. It's like magic, I swear. But it isn't. It's just how things work. But you know what? Even if they just don't have photos for some of the more fundamental stages of the build, again, there's so many reasons that could be that make more sense than it and big fake conspiracy, including that they just didn't fucking bother. They are allowed to do that, you know.
And you see them building kind of the shell, and you can find photos of the boilers, some of the mechanical stuff.
And then they just threw it all away because who needs technology and vehicles and equipment that is actually useful and can do things when you can just pretend to do that in some incredibly convoluted fashion that makes no sense and would just be a waste of everybody's time, when the brain trust point at it and honk fake really loud. But
you don't really see anything elegant being made. For all you know, this photo right here could just be some rich person's house. How do you know that this is a boat? This could be a set that somebody made.
I love that it went from house to set in like 2 seconds flat. Because God forbid there be fucking anything that is actually real. No, every possible object in the universe is just a fake thing to trick us into thinking that things exist.
On the ground. What about this is necessarily from a boat, from a ship? And
the only reason that matters to you is because your basic assumption about anything that you can't physically go to and see with your own eyes is that it's not real. You must think that the world is a deeply, deeply uninteresting place when nothing ever happened, except like 2 seagulls in a garbage bag floating by. They're the only possible historical events that could have ever happened. Fuck the countless records of basically all the things in recent history, not just photos, but documents and articles and fucking personal entries of people at the time. People who would have no reason to lie about the fake things that didn't happen. No.
Yeah, to me it's just, when I've never really spent the time to look at Titanic photos.
Oh, what a surprise that Hans is like, hey, The Titanic is a huge, tragic event that changed the way we think about massive passenger craft for basically the rest of time that spawned movies and has incredible amounts of work dedicated to documenting its history. Well, I haven't really looked into it, so it's fake, 'cause the ship didn't exist. So nothing happened because I'm a smart boy who is smart. Wonderful.
It's clear to me now. I mean, of course it's a big hoax. Any sensational news story like that, when you wake up to the grand conspiracy.
Wait, so yeah, literally any sensational news story is fake by virtue of it being a big deal. Like, seriously, do you hear yourself? That means that if you got blown up in some sort of massive gas leak that got national attention, it would somehow be fake. What fucking gibberitic nonsense is this, Hans? Shit happens. It's literally a slogan and a cliche, 'cause shit does, in fact, happen. Just because you weren't there to personally verify it doesn't change that fact, and that you think you would need to be for it to be real is so unbelievably narcissistic. I would be surprised if you believed the sticky shits being left in your toilet every day are yours, because you're too special to crap, and if you did, it definitely wouldn't smell like 6-month-old rancid wombat spleens just because that happens to be the only thing that you ever eat.
How everything on the world stage is fake. But, how fake is it?
Oh my god, there's actually scales of fake now, are there? What does that even mean? Or is this your get out of ridiculous free card for when one of your bullshit "this thing I'm fake" videos has more of your fans? And yes, I know that it's a wild notion, if there ever was one. Why aren't they fake, Hands? But when they say, dude, the you can just be like, well, some of it is true, and that's how they fake you, because obviously.
And I think that the Titanic mostly was just a shell. Like the Twin Towers. It reminds me of no floors on Twin Towers.
So not only was the Titanic just a shell for no reason, but 9/11? It went way, way beyond inside job with you to, the towers were just great big papier-mâché edifices that then fell over because, I don't know, someone leant on one of them too hard. So they had to do the whole airplane thing to explain how that building fell down. And as we know, airplanes are also fake, so that's like a whole nother thing. Dude, how do you function with all this bullshit knowledge floating around your head? Surely you must struggle to do simple tasks. So convinced you are that they might just be fake and you end up falling through the floor into the void, for fuck's sake.
There really wasn't anything inside the Titanic, and there really wasn't anything fancy inside the Titanic.
And you know this because, oh right, you don't. You have absolutely no idea what the Titanic was like inside, outside, or any other way. Because you're just full of shit and are making this all up, based on your preconceived notion that big events didn't happen because reasons. Like, God forbid you go out and find some actual solid evidence to back up your claim. That would be too difficult. I mean, it really would, because if you earnestly tried, you would definitely discover that they were real, and that, you have confirmation bias to keep fed. And that means doing as little possible to ever dissuade yourself of anything.
This photo could have been, a set, or could be some rich person's house.
Or it could be right, and you might need to sit down for this staggering reveal. The fucking Titanic's interior, and you need to stop using your powers of turbo personal incredulity to disbelieve absolutely goddamn everything, because there's no fucking reason for everything to be fake.
33 rare Titanic sinking photos.
Oh god, let me guess. Well, I can't tell it's sinking, so it must not be that, because photos aren't gifts, but gifts do exist, so they should have existed back then. Although, not gonna lie, if there are actual shots on the Titanic as it sank, that's just proof positive that hipster dickheads who had to photograph everything instead of not being killed by it were always around even back then.
There's nobody in these photos. When you go look at photos of the alleged fancy stuff in the Titanic, it's like a ghost town.
Well, of course there wasn't, because I actually took a look at the 33 pictures thing, and the before and after was photos they took, people being boarded, so no duh, and the after were literally after the ship sank, and people were in boats or even news sellers with the Titanic story on their board sheet things. So not exactly what one might expect. Not surprising though, considering the tech.
And they'll say, oh, it's before, as seen before the vessel took off.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be? See, if you think about it for more than a few seconds, it makes perfect sense. No matter how many cameras were on the ship when it took off, how many do you think made it off the vessel? Sweet to FA would be my guess, if any at all. So any photos taken on the ship that sunk, likely sunk, on the ship, it's not a hard concept to grasp, Hans.
You just really don't get photos with a lot of people in it, and so what they do is they make a movie. They make that Titanic movie.
There were fucking survivors still alive till 2009, for fuck's sake. That's decades and decades and decades of people being able to give corroborating first-hand accounts of the event that transpired that day. Hundreds of people, many of them just regular folks, who would have had nothing to benefit from retelling such a story if it was fake. And certainly no good reason to keep it up for so long. And yet not one of them came forward in the decades after it happened to say, that was a right prank, lol.
And they make their hoax come to life. In the moment when they make a hoax first happen, they don't even have to make it that great.
Oh, is that right? You now even have such insight into the creation of these hoaxes that happened fucking decades before you were even born. But somehow you know what the people in the room where they decided to do it, what they were thinking. Fucking listen to yourself. It's amazing the reality that you think is ridiculous, and yet the things you think you know are the most absurd goddamn things anyone has ever said, without exploding from laughter. And people wonder why I think he's not a Poe. World's greatest actor who never took up the spotlight and became an ultra famous or idiot. I just don't know which seems more likely.
I mean, like this, they didn't even spend the time to get a bunch of actors to come in. Just what they'll do is they'll later just write sensational stories about it.
See? There it is. He will spot a flaw in his idea. They didn't get a bunch of actors to come in and make it more fakey and convincing. That means I'm more correct. There is no proof that will not make what he thinks the right answer even harder, because he's incapable of being wrong. And if you never think you're wrong, you're always fucking wrong. Just like Hans.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the